We're now at the bottom of the access portal. This is where the crew would make their fourth and final phone call. They would make it from this phone box right here. Now the purpose of this last phone call was to get these doors open. And in order to do that, they had to synchronize the pressing of a set of buttons. You'll see one half of that set right here, and the other half of the set is in the control center. Now these buttons need to be pressed within 2 seconds of each other. Once pressed, the 4 stainless steel bolts that are on each of these doors are retracted, and the doors can then be pulled open. Now I am going to need a single volunteer.
Where?
If you'll follow us in here in the blast lock area, just make sure you keep this door clear, but get as many people in as possible. But if you can't fit all in, don't worry, just scooch in. You can stand, some people can stand right here, but don't go past this door.
Right up in here?
You can stand right here, but don't go past. Okay, scooch in, keep this door clear. Alright. Okay, move a little bit in, and just don't go in front of the door, you can stand right next to it though. Alright. Can you all hear me out there?
Yes.
Okay, so we're now in the blast lock area. Where we were out there is what's known as the soft part of the site. That means if there was a natural disaster like an earthquake or a near-miss nuclear strike, which is anything just outside of a mile, everything out there would be gone. But everything past the blast lock area farther in is what's known as the hardened part of the site. It's designed so that it should be able to survive a natural disaster or a near-miss nuclear strike, again, anything just outside of a mile. And it does that through a combination of things. And one of those things are these doors here. So if my volunteer wouldn't mind grabbing hold of that handle there, and then just pull back as far as it goes there. All right, so was that door heavy, sir?
Very.
Like that. If you had to guess, how heavy do you think that door was?
2 tons.
You're pretty close. It's not 2 tons, but 3 tons. It's 6,000 pounds.
Wow.
So each of these doors is made of steel I-beams welded together. They are 6,000 pounds each. So these doors, combined with the shocks you'll see on some of the equipment in here, as well as the way the electrical is, and the springs you'll see on some of the lights, as well as the 4 to 5 foot thick reinforced concrete walls. All of that is what makes everything past the blast lock area the hardened part of the site. Now you'll notice that each of these doors has a milled surface on it. That is so that when they are closed, they provide an airtight seal. So they can keep out any chemical fumes or radiation, which is part of how these 2 front doors fulfill their purpose of protecting the crew from outside dangers. That's what they're there for. So if there was an attack on land, or if there was a near-miss nuclear strike, anything just outside of a mile, that is what these 2 doors here and here are for. Now, you'll notice that there are 2 more blast lock doors farther in. Those doors there are to protect the crew from their own missile. So if there was ever a malfunction, or we ever had to launch the missile, that is what those doors are there for. So, we're going to head now into the control center. We'll learn more about the crew, and we might even launch a missile of our own. So if you'll follow me, watch your step, watch your head. Okay, so I'm going to need 2 volunteers. Two. You sure you both want to go? So you two can go? One of you sits here, one of you sits there. Okay. You two are going to help me with something in a little bit, okay? But until then, we are in the control center. You'll notice around us there are these large springs. You can see a couple of them pretty easily. One right there, another one behind you there. There are 8 of them in total surrounding this room. And the purpose of those springs is similar to the purpose of the shocks and springs we saw in the blast lock area. And that is to keep this building we are in seismically stable. So, if there was ever a near-miss strike, anything just outside of a mile, or an earthquake, or if we were to launch our missile out there, because of these springs, we'd barely be able to feel it. And if we had the doors closed, we'd barely be able to hear it. Now, the crews made their way down here. They've made their 4 phone calls. They've switched off with the previous alert. What they're now going to do is they're going to do an inspection of this entire place, top to bottom. Remember, we're a retaliatory site, which means we need to be ready to go at a moment's notice if we ever come under attack. So everything needs to be functioning properly. And to ensure that, they do an inspection. The first inspection lasts 3 hours. Then 12 hours later, they turn around and they do it again. So, 6 out of every 24 hours spent down here is spent just inspecting the place, making sure everything's functioning properly. And most of the rest of the time we're going to spend in this place is going to be spent in this room we're in. We're going to be filling reports out, saying they had found something wrong. They need to fill out and make a report. Get someone down here to fix it. And they're going to be receiving and decoding dozens and dozens and dozens of messages throughout the day from one of these 2 squawk boxes. And they're going to be monitoring the missile. Now, when you came into this room here, you might have seen a sign on the side of that console that says no lone zone or 2-man policy. Well, that means exactly what it sounds like it means. And that is that if you're in that zone, you cannot be alone. You have to be with at least one other person at all times. In fact, most of this place was a no-lone zone. The only place that it wasn't was the level above us. There are 3 levels to this building are currently in. The crew quarters above us, the control center where we are, and the maintenance level below us. And the crew quarters is the only place you're allowed to be by yourself. The only time you're allowed to be up there is if you're on break. Each crew member will be given a maximum of 4 hours in which they can take a break now. So during that time, if they wanted to go up there, get a nap, get a bite to eat, use the restroom, or just have some alone time to themselves, maybe read a book or something, they can do that up there. Otherwise, they have to be at least one other person at all times. And if you're in this room here, one of those people needed to be an officer. So, we know what they're doing down here. They're filling reports out, receiving and decoding messages, monitoring missiles, but who was it that was down here doing those things? Well, we had 4 members to each crew. 2 officers, which you 2 will be providing the services of today, and 2 enlisted personnel. Our 2 officers are our missile combat crew commanders, who be you. You'll be responsible for this main launch desk here. You would also have been responsible for everyone stationed below you on your ship. So, if they mess up, you'll be on the hook for it. You've got to make sure they don't mess up. Then we have our deputy missile combat crew commander. You're training to get his job. And you're responsible for all those panels behind you there. For all these panels in front of you here. For that clock there. You're also responsible for keeping track of anyone who comes down here who's not part of our crew. So if we have a maintenance crew down here, or an inspection from the higher-ups, you need to keep track of exactly where they are at all times, and you would do that from this board here. So, we know who our crew is, or well, our officers are of our crew. What about our 2 enlisted personnel? Well, the first one of those is our Missile Facilities Technician, or our MFT. And they're responsible for the facilities of this place. So all the stuff below